Hello and welcome to my channel Lifestyle and Fashion Tea. And today I present to you Straight Off the Block. Let's get into it. Two of Washington, D.C.'s most famous buildings, the White House and the United States Capitol, were built in large part by enslaved African Americans. National Archives holdings include wage rolls, promissory notes, and vouchers that documented the work done by slaves. Between 1795 and the 1800s contains 122 names labeled Negro hire. A slave's wages were paid directly to the slave owner who signed the rolls of receipts. Rolls, R-O-L-L-S, yes, rolls, presented at the National Archives list the African Americans who worked on these projects as carpenters and brickmakers. One such roll is a 1795 carpenter roll for the President's House. The documents list 4 slaves, Tom, Peter, Ben, and Harry. The rolls in which you see on the screen are recorded documents. These recorded the number of days slaves worked and the rate at which each worker was paid. A second document is a 1795 promissory note from the commissioners to Jasper M. Jackson for the hire of his slave Negro, whom they called Dick, at the Capitol from the 13th of April to the 1st of July, 1795. 3 months at $5 per month. Little is known about the lives of the men who, like Negro Dick, built the Capitol. Most of them lived in shacks on the building site where they received medical care, food, and occasionally a small incentive payment above what was given to them by their masters. Straight off the block for $700. The statue is Philip that Reed sits on top a skilled sculptor. On top of the Capitol is a 19-foot bronze woman holding a wreath, and it was made by Mr. Philip Reed. Reed was paid $1.25 a day to cast the statue. He was chosen because no one else had the skill to make a bronze statue out of plaster cast made by Thomas Crawford to make the statue. By the time the statue was set on the roof of the Capitol in 1963, Reed was a free man. He also sculpted the equestrian statue of Andrew Jackson in Lafayette Park. Reed sculpted many statues. I wish I had time to say them all, but here's one in New Orleans, Louisiana. He did one in Nashville, Tennessee, and in Jacksonville, Florida. Let's not forget his name, Philip Reed. Next, straight off the block, we have Wiggins. Wiggins was born Thomas Green on the Wiley Edward Jones plantation in Harris County, Georgia. Blind at birth, he was sold in 1850 along with his enslaved parents, Charity and Domingo Wiggins, to a Columbus, Georgia lawyer, General Jones Neal Bethune. Wiggins' name was reported as Thomas Green Bethune. His name was changed due to his slave status. Because Tom was blind, he could not perform work normally as the other slaves. He was left to play the piano. By age 4, he had acquired skills by ear. By age 5, he composed his first tune. Bethune hired out Blind Tom from the age of 8 to concert promoter Perry Oliver. He performed up to 4 times a day and earning Oliver and Bethune up to $100,000 per year. He was a highly compensated pianist. Bethune's family made a fortune, estimated $750,000 at the hands of Blind Tom. He began to advertise him as if he were some sort of a circus as Barnum. And his advertisements read, "From animal to artist." In 1860, he performed at the White House before President James Buchanan. He was the first African American to give a command performance. He was just 10 years of age. Please do not forget his name. Next up and straight off the block, we have Ursula Granger. There are no pictures for Ursula, as I could find, but she was born around 1738. She was purchased in a bidding war and enslaved by Thomas Jefferson. Ursula was a very wanted slave. She was known for her cooking, her baking, and all of the house servant duties. She was like top-notch number one. Jefferson purchased her and her 2 sons, and she was so well wanted that he turned around and purchased her husband, George. George and Ursula became 2 of the most important figures at Monticello. George was a foreman, a farm laborer, who in the last few years of his life was the Monticello overseer, the only enslaved man to occupy this position. Ursula Granger, a 14-year-old enslaved cook, arrived at the White House from Monticello to work in Thomas Jefferson's presidential household. She gave birth to a child likely named as Net in March of 1802. Ursula's child was born into slavery at the White House. This concludes Straight Off the Block from Lifestyle and Fashion TV. We will be back for more. Thank you for listening and watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode of Straight Off the Block.